by miracle of sound. Alright, and welcome back to the Shardbreaker podcast. This is episode 1 of Shadows of Self, the second book in Mistborn Era 2. We did chapters 1 through 5 this week. I am Midnight, your host, and I'm here with Mythic.
Hello.
And Darkness.
Hello.
Alright, you guys ready to get into chapter 1 of our 10th book. This is our 10th book, guys.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So we start 17 years after the prologue, which is about a year after the end of Alloy of Law. And we start with the POV of a man named Winsting, who is going to be auctioning himself off today. Winsting asks if his safe room...
So much for that.
Yeah, I mean, he tried. The auction kind of happened, it just never finished. Winsting asks if his safe room is ready, and Flog, his bodyguard, which, interesting name, confirms that it is.
Yeah.
Winsting pulls on Flog's loyalty, and as he stares out at the field of rebirth, he also pulls on the emotions of the people in the neighboring room. Winsting waits until he sees mist appear in the air before he goes to head into the other room. Flog calls it bad luck, stating that his eyes are upon them, but Winsting calls that superstitious nonsense. So there are 24 people, plus bodyguards, in the party, many of whom have aluminum-lined hats. Winsting had told everyone that the others wouldn't bring any soothers or riders, but he had never mentioned if he was one or not. Winsting glances at Blome, the bartender, who confirms that no one besides Winsting is burning any metals. Winsting then gains everyone's attention before stating that the bidding will start and will go until he's happy with the offer. So what do you think about Winsting being a rider and making sure there were no other emotional allomancers in the room?
I mean, that's pretty smart and cool. You know, like, that's also expected, though, of people with that power. Yeah,
he's powerful both apparently in the criminal world and in the political world. What did you think, Mythic?
I mean, it was great.
I mean, his safety nets obviously work out so well for him, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm saying it was great.
Yeah, worked real well. So Winsting then goes over to Flog, asking about Edwin Ladrian, but Flog replies that he didn't confirm that he was going to come. Winsting then goes over to the painting he had painted that sits in the center of the room, the item that people would pretend to have been bidding for. A man named Dowser, who runs smuggling operations in the 5th Octant, tells Winsting the painting is ugly, but Winsting states that he can't just be forthcoming with the real auction item that is his Senate vote for the next year. So what do you think about the fact that Winsting is auctioning off his Senate vote to criminals?
Not gonna lie, straight off the bat, I thought he was into prostitution.
Yep. When he first said auctioning myself off, yeah, I 100% saw the same thing. I was like, oh, people are buying him, apparently.
Mind you, I was all for it. Like, you do you.
I mean, if you're doing it yourself and not actually being, like, human trafficked by someone, sure, do what you want, dude.
Yeah, it's your body.
He's got his own, like, mini, like, bachelor version of the place.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Also, what did you think about the fact that...
government's okay with it?
What do you think about the fact that Wax's uncle specifically did not come to the party, even though he was invited?
I wonder why he wouldn't go to that, you know?
Yeah.
It's not like anything might have been planned or anything.
It's definitely a bit suspicious after some shit goes down in a bit.
I don't know what you're talking about. It's completely safe and fine. Nobody's burning any metal.
Yeah, no, he just doesn't feel like it that day, that's all. So the woman on Dowser's arm asks if Winsting is worried about his brother, Replar, and if he will find out what he's doing. Winsting, however, says that his brother, the governor, already knows what he's like. Winsting then implies that his brother might also be open to bribes, which get Dowser's attention back onto him. Winsting leaves the two and tells Flog that he thinks Dowser's date is a spy for the constables and to get rid of her if she splits from Dowser after the party. So do you think this woman is working for the constables, and do you think she died?
No,
I don't think she died.
We don't get a description of her, do
I don't know
we?
about that.
I don't think there's much description of her. I can double check. A pretty woman with a sharp suit. Oh, no, the pretty woman in a shirt suit was what Dowser was wearing. I think they just call her a pretty woman. I don't think they give her much other description other than that she's pretty.
Oh, that's not objective.
Oh, no, here we go. Slender with short golden
Yeah,
hair and a doe-eyed expression. She was uncommonly tall.
Is it not that one girl that they were looking for?
It definitely implies that, she might, especially saying that she's uncommonly tall. I should have noted that in my notes. That definitely makes it sound like she's Terrace, because Terrace people generally are tall.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. See, Midnight, you gotta be smart.
I know, I'm a little out of it this morning.
A little?
Just a little. I was still able to get my notes done at least. I was worried I wasn't going to get them done in time. But yeah, so you think that she's probably the Terrace woman?
I know she is. She told me.
Do you agree, Mythic?
She told you.
Idashwi?
Yeah, I mean, after what
the fuck
said, yeah.
What's her name again?
Idashwi. That's how they literally tell you how to pronounce it in the book.
That's too hard.
I won't remember it after this, so it's all good.
The woman on Dowser's arm asks if Winsting is worried. I literally just read that. Winsting.
Yeah,
Yeah, you literally just read that. Come on, Nate.
Winsting happily mingles for over an hour, Bid's coming in and him excited about it. However, he suddenly hears a gunshot, which is followed by several others. Flog grabs Winsting and begins taking him towards the safe room. Winsting sees one of his other bodyguards with a bullet wound and asks Flog what happened, but Flog is unsure of who exactly started the gunfight. He pushes Winsting into the safe room before stating that he was going to see what he could salvage. Winsting locks himself into the room and worries about how he'll be able to keep the whole thing private. Flog then eventually comes back with a group of bodyguards and states that all the guests are dead. Winsting worries about how this will be covered up since he owns the building and also if he'll have to talk to his brother about it. As he worries, a man grabs him by his head and slits his throat. So what do you think about Winsting being murdered in his own safe room?
That's when
it was definitely an inside job.
Also, who do you think it is that killed Winsting? Do you think it was Flog? Do you think it was like someone pretending to be one of the other bodyguards? I think it was Flog. Do you agree, Dickness? Do you think Flog is the one who did it?
Great name for a villain, to be honest.
No.
You don't think it's Flog?
No, only because later on we get like them examining this like scene or whatever.
So they do examine the scene, but they mention that there's 4 bodyguards outside of the room that are dead, and they only mention Winsting being dead inside the room.
I know, but that's the thing though. When it comes to like these books, I've kind of just learned that most of the time, the most obvious conclusion that they come up with is probably not going to be it.
That's definitely fair.
Unless,
I said that's definitely fair.
Yeah. So unless I get like a little bit more, besides the obvious, like, oh, this is what must have happened, I'm just gonna believe that there could have been other options.
I mean, he did leave and come back. For all we know, maybe it's someone, maybe Idashwi like dressed up as Flog. Like it might not have been the real Flog that came back.
What if she just molted her skin?
She molted her skin.
Okay, but that's okay. I was saying that as a joke, but technically
I heard you in the middle of that. I'm like, I know exactly where your mind went.
Chandra.
Yep.
Chandra. She's a Chandra.
The thing is, though, how can she be a ferochemist if she's a Chandra? Because remember,
well, we don't know how the Chandra were affected by Says.
Exactly.
Considering that they were what terrorist people beforehand, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they are.
So if they were terrorist people, they probably had ferochemy too.
It's very possible, yeah, that a good number of them, because like the whole reason that they were turned into Mist Race and then Condor was because there was the potential for ferochemy.
Right. If I were Says, I would have returned those powers, and I wouldn't have forced them to go back, but I would have given them the option to go back. You know,
the option to go back to being terrorist people instead of Condra.
Yeah, but like if Condra got the free will of like however to act however they want, and they figured,
more contract.
I might as well like be able to use my powers without the contracts exactly. Then maybe staying like this is not that bad, and then some of them might have gone back. You know, it depends. You know.
Yeah, that's true. Because like people think that the Conjurers are just mythological creatures, is what we learned in Alloy of Law. So obviously, like they're either completely gone, so maybe Sage just turned them all back into terrorist people and people just didn't realize. Or maybe they're hiding, or maybe they're just like, hey, we don't need the contracts, we don't need to be fearful of ruin anymore. We're just gonna merge back into society with using random bodies.
Right.
Like, we have no idea what they've done.
Can you imagine that they fucking and I'm gonna say that there was adjustments to however they created, considering that the Koalas can also breed now and do whatever, right? Can you imagine that they all decide to pop up and like reveal themselves? It's like it would be interesting if like it's a depiction of like how the X-Men like, you know, and the mutants like rose up and then the people were fighting back and all that. Because people will fear like their power and stuff if that's how it happens. Because like who wouldn't be scared of somebody who can like suck your bones dry, you know?
Suck your bones dry. Also, do you think then do you think we are going to potentially see some Conjure in this book?
I wouldn't say this book. I'd say definitely in the like
this era.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. Do you agree, Mythic? Do you think we're going to see some Conjure at some point, or at least find out what happened to them?
That's actually exciting.
So chapter 2. We switch to Wax's point of view as he reads the book that Marsh had given to Marassi. Steris is in the room with him, discussing who to invite to their wedding. The book states that they don't think Sazed would like them to talk about hemalurgy, but that it should be good now that Sazed is both ruin and preservation. Wax mentions that the Boris brothers, whom Steris was considering inviting, wanted him dead because he shot their dad twice. Steris says she'll put them on the wedding list anyways. So what do you think about Marsh giving? What do you think about Marsh giving Wax a book about hemalurgy?
My bad. I mean, now we know. Wait, actually, we don't even know how common that book is, right? Look.
Okay. It sounds like the book probably isn't common. It doesn't sound like hemalurgy is a well-known thing, because Wax doesn't say, like, oh, I've heard about this book before, or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. But he's, like, way into it, which is kind of scary, you know, considering the history.
To be fair, if who you thought was a mythological person gave you a book and said, this is important, I think you would read it no matter what its contents were.
Yeah, that's true. But, like, you would go in fresh without any, like, sort of past to what's written on it.
I mean, also, if he was horrified by the contents, it has been a year since he supposedly probably received this book. So any horror he's felt reading it would have happened a long time ago. Yeah. Like, this is definitely probably not even his, like, third or fourth time going through this book. He's probably gone through it multiple times.
He's into that forbidden shit. That's crazy.
What are your thoughts, Mythic, about Wax being given this book about hemalurgy?
I mean, like Sarah said, it's definitely scary knowing the history of hemalurgy, but hopefully he'll use it for a better purpose than, the predecessors.
Mm-hmm. Also, who do you think wrote this book? So it's definitely someone who seems to have known Sazed personally, which kind of narrows it down a little bit about who could have written it, but who do you think wrote this book about hemalurgy and saying how they don't think it's as dangerous anymore now that ruin is part of harmony and not just by itself?
It's Spook.
You think it's Spook?
Yeah.
With heavy influence from Kelsier, yeah.
I 100% think it's Spook, actually.
Yeah, because I think pretty much the only options are Marsh, Kelsier, Spook, and Breeze. Were any of the other main groups still alive at the end? I think those were the main people that were still alive.
Was that one captain still alive?
Oh yeah, Demo. Demo would also have been an option. Mm-hmm. You're right.
Okay. Yeah, Midnight, you gotta think through this.
Apologies.
Yeah,
I forgot about Demo. I always forgot about Demo. So.
Yeah, Temu.
Or Temu, as he was called on Roshar.
Mm-hmm.
Temu.
So yeah, so you guys both think it was Spook, although I think, Mythic, you said you might think it was heavy doses of Kelsier influencing him too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Kelsier's dead. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, just like Yasna.
Technically, Kelsier's a little more dead than Yasna. Yasna at least still has her body.
Guys, Yasna dies in book 2.
And Kelsier both died.
Kelsier is basically just a ghost at this point.
What book did Yasna die in?
She dies at the beginning of book 2 and is revealed to be alive. Of them, actually. She's revealed to be alive at the end of book 2.
She never died. Exactly. So you lied.
So Wax then suggests inviting family members instead of enemies, but Steris makes the point that Wax's main living family member wants him dead more than most of the other people that she's considered inviting. Steris then states that she has invited all of her family and her acquaintances, but Wax had only told her to invite Wayne and Renette for him. Steris then states that she knows something at the wedding will go wrong because of the type of life Wax has lived, so she's trying to plan for the most likely scenarios. She also has a list of all of Wax's enemies, sorted by threat level. Wax then suggests inviting Douglas Venture, who will likely get drunk at the party, and fill the rest of the seats on his side with people high up working for the different factories he owns, as well as high-level constables from each octant. So what do you think about how few of people Wax has that he can invite to his own wedding?
I was gonna say he needs some friends, but honestly, it's kind of relatable. So...
He's got a couple close friends. He doesn't really need more than that, does he? He's just an introvert.
Sure. You keep telling yourself that, Midnight.
What do you think about the lack of friends and family that Wax has, Mythic?
I mean, it sounds like he's got exactly what he needs. Shouldn't get any more than that.
Also, what do you think about Steris trying to plan for potential disasters at their wedding?
I think it's stupid.
I think honestly, it's valid.
Honestly, knowing Wax, something will go wrong. And Steris is smart to plan for it, in my opinion. She's like, yeah, no, someone's gonna come in and try to shoot you or something.
Nah, I might understand if she was like marrying Wayne or something.
I feel like people target Wax way more than Wayne.
Nah.
She might as well have shot him herself.
Steris also...
No, but like that way, I'm being dead ass, that way she secures that fucking solution. Like if something goes wrong, I might as well do it myself. It's my wedding.
How many paramedics do you think they're gonna have at their fucking wedding?
Oh, wow. Huh. I wonder what the like medical aspects of this world are.
I'm assuming pretty similar to I'm assuming pretty similar to like early 1900s.
Okay, but can you imagine someone pulling up with like iron deficiency?
Wow.
I've used too much of my
And being
allomancy.
an
I
iron.
took it out of my
Yeah,
blood.
for being an iron. That's hilarious.
Being an
I'm a little
iron
weak.
allomancer would definitely be a really good way to become iron deficient and anemic.
Honestly, that's what I'm saying. Like, we don't know what like this does long term, right? I do imagine like they have like how horses get those like cubes, like those big cubes to lick.
Oh, like the salt cubes or whatever?
Yeah, they're just like that, but like with metals for people that need it.
It's like Alabaster Jack just licking metal off the wall.
Uh-huh.
You
There's
just,
just stations of it.
you just keep one wall in like your home always like covered in like a big metal sheet. You just lick it from time to time.
You're like gnawing on it.
It's like, oh yeah, I got steel appliances. I just chew on them every once in a while.
My fridge is looking real tasty right now. Not the contents inside it.
Just
my
the fridge itself.
All fridge.
I eat the food and then I eat the fridge as well. It's like those videos where people like pretend they've eaten like their whole plate after eating the food on it. Except it's the whole fridge.
Or the is it cake videos?
Yeah. Is it
Is
cake?
it
No,
metal
but I'll
enough?
eat it anyway.
I love this.
Stairs asked briefly about Wax's. Oh my! I've just realized. I can imagine if we. I think they're unfortunately going to skip like social media era of Mistborn. I think
That's
they're
what
going
I was
Cold War
thinking.
to space age. But like, I imagine like Alamancers on like TikTok be like, let's test if this metal is alamatically viable, and just like downing
Right.
random scraps of metal they see on the street.
That's like okay, we don't like condone any of these like dangerous actions, obviously, but
We are not on
that's
Scadrial.
like
You do not need to eat random metals off the street, please, people.
that's like the Tide Pod situation we had.
Oh my gosh. Seeing if lead is really not an allomantic metal and swallowing a big chunk of lead.
Or like consuming just this metal in mass amounts for 24 hours.
Trying not to get mercury poisoning. Oh my gosh. Trying to see if I can make a uranium bracer as a ferrochemist. I can just imagine all the really stupid shit people would come up with on Scadrial. Oh my gosh.
You think that how there's metal like that enhances your body and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
You think it would help with TikTok dances?
Oh my gosh. Pewter arms are just like huge on TikTok because they have like really good stamina for dancing.
No, that ass pewter arms would be such good ballerinas.
Because the thing is, like, they don't just get stronger; they also get really good balance.
Yeah, and don't they get like a little speed boost or some shit?
They don't get a speed boost. It's just they don't get. They can go without feeling exhausted if they keep burning it.
So there's the ferrochemy power for speed, right?
Yes, that's the one that they talk about later.
Can you like use that and the pewter stuff?
You probably could if you were mixed, yeah. And
Okay, so at that point, are you just not like the Flash?
Possibly. Also, I imagine people being like having to use like elements to stop people. They have to like use people with bronze to make sure people aren't using like elements or ferrochemy during the Olympics and stuff to like make sure people aren't.
Wait, I was gonna say people with the powers that I just said, like where they have pewter and they have the speed one, would make
like
such
marathon
good
runners
Uber Eats or like DoorDashers.
Oh my god, I was thinking marathon runners. For like the Olympics.
Well, yeah, but that's cheating, That's
what I'm saying.
If they're doing it
instead of steroids, it's just people. Instead of steroids, it's just people being like hidden allomancers or like ferrochemists and trying to like hide it from people.
Fuck.
Your coach uses
your
coach uses copper to hide the fact that you're cheating by using metals. That'd be crazy.
Wait, which one's the metal that like conceals the usage of metal?
Copper. That's what I was saying.
Right.
Torches, yeah.
Are you able to wait? So you can burn copper itself to like. Let's say if you're like a Mistborn, you burn copper to like conceal it.
Yeah, you make basically similar to like the speed bubble. You make like a bubble of I don't know how big it can make it.
Right, but if it's not being burned,
conceals.
you can just wear it.
Yeah, I mean and then you just eat it later.
First of all, we're not eating the metal. Okay.
I'm eating the metal.
We're past that. If you just have copper, you want to just conceal it all the time, though.
Well, no, wearing copper doesn't create a copper cloud. You have to burn the copper to create a copper cloud.
To conceal the. So why the fuck are? How the fuck does clothing work?
What?
No, the metal they use to like conceal.
Oh, the aluminum line. So aluminum blocks
Yeah.
allomancy completely. Copper just hides people. So basically, they explain how like you can't even like aluminum has like a very specific properties in allomancy where you can't even push on it like it's a normal metal. Just allomancy doesn't work on it. Whereas copper's different. Copper just hides the fact that people are using allomancy from like
Oh,
people who
okay.
can use bronze.
Yeah.
So you'd have to like the aluminum wouldn't work that. Like the copper wouldn't
Aluminum is
work.
dangerous as fuck then.
E
Do you think it's strong enough to fuck up god metals?
Raffo.
What?
Read and find out. That's what Brandon says whenever
Oh
people
my
get near spoilers. It may or may not come up in later books if
Well,
aluminum could
really
stop god metals.
Does that just mean
Oh,
that?
I do believe in Mistborn Era 1, if a Mistborn consumes aluminum, it will get rid of their supply of atium.
So that answers your question.
So it gets rid of any metal. If you burn aluminum as a Mistborn, it'll remove the god metals from your system. So it works on it in
But
that
aluminum
way.
is a burnable metal through
Yes.
the powers they have.
Yes. Remember they forced Vin to eat aluminum when she was in the first book. When she was captured by the Inquisitors to go see the Lord Ruler, they forced her to eat aluminum so that she didn't have any metal reserves when she went to go see him.
Why?
Because
Like,
they
why
didn't
is that
want
a
her to have
thing?
metals.
Wouldn't have any metal.
Because, like, I'm gonna
Yes.
say,
Coffee.
Sorry.
do we have any more metals that we don't have like accounted for?
So as far as we know now, because of your specific one, we have 16 plus the 2 god metals, which may or may not exist anymore. And then Miles has claimed there is another metal that I think we talked about at the end of Allied Law potentially being a god metal, since we already have the 16 non-god metals revealed to us.
Yeah.
So basically there's 16 metals, but god metals count outside of the 16.
I don't
They're special.
understand how aluminum's gonna have so much power and not derive from like a god itself.
I think if it was more powerful in the fact that like it could fully take away your powers, like if it was something where like it just stops you from being a Mistborn anymore, that would be too overpowered. But like aluminum, like you can counteract it by just eating more metals after burning the aluminum.
Wait. So what was the other metal, Lerasium or whatever? Right?
So Lerasium turns you into a Mistborn if you burn it. So like if you had Lerasium in your system but weren't burning it yet, aluminum would get rid of it. After you burn it, though, you're just automatically a Mistborn, and aluminum wouldn't get rid of that.
Okay, but if you once you burn Lerasium, right, you don't have to burn it ever again to use your powers. You just use them in general.
Yes.
Why can you do that, but ATM just literally goes away once you burn it?
I think because Lerasium is of preservation, so it's preserving it into your DNA directly, whereas Ruin is something that's supposed to be like consumed and regenerated and destroyed and regenerated and destroyed and regenerated, because that's like the whole point of Ruin, to destroy things.
That makes sense.
Anyways, to get back to the actual story after our big long tangent, Stairs asks briefly about Wax's book, but Wayne rushes in before Wax can answer. He states that he avoids the doorbell to avoid giving any warning to the butler, and that the man they've been after has finally made a move. Wax hurries to get ready as Wayne calls Stairs crazy and she calls him an idiot in turn. Before they leave, Stairs tells Wax to watch out for her sister, although Wax thinks Marassi won't be there. However, Stairs says Marassi definitely will be there and he doesn't know her well if he thinks that. Wax and Stairs share a look before he jumps out over the balcony. So what do you think about Wayne and Stairs' interactions with each other?
What was the question?
What do you think about the interaction between Wayne and Stairs, where he calls her crazy and she calls him idiot?
Oh, I mean, both are true, so.
I like that it's not like an uncomfortable banter, though.
Do you think Wayne kind of likes her a little bit more than he did previously, or do you think he's still kind of like anti-Wayne, or anti-Wax getting married to her?
I mean, I still think he's like not all for it, considering what's said in the later chapter. Where he's like, "Oh, mistakes were made" or whatever, right?
Yeah, that's true.
But
I think he doesn't think that Stairs is like a good match for Wax.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say like he doesn't like her or anything like that.
He's more just resigned to the fact that Wax has agreed to this.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I guess I'll put up with her since she's going to be your wife.
For now.
So outside, Marassi is waiting at the steering wheel of a motor vehicle. Wax is not impressed to not be using a carriage. He also thinks about how she gave up her career as a solicitor to become an analyst and executive assistant at the constabulary. The man they are after robbed a bank, although Wax has expected it to happen a few days ago. Marassi states where Reddy believes the man will flee to, but Wax disagrees and tells her to go to the breakouts. Wax then complains about Marassi coming out to a dangerous chase again, and Marassi states that all Wax does lately is complain. They then spot the man they're after, and Wax jumps out of the car, pushing himself up onto the top of it. Wax knew that the man enjoyed being seen by the public as he enjoyed the fame, which is why he had expected to see him on those busy streets. Wax gives chase, thinking that the man had been noted in his uncle's pocketbook, meaning he was connected to the set, although the book's value was waning as time went on. So what do you think about the fact that this guy they're chasing was mentioned by Wax's uncle?
No, I don't feel like it's a direct connection to the set or whatever.
Yeah, neither do I.
You don't think he's as important as maybe Wax thinks just because his name was in there?
Yeah.
So Marks then causes a motor car to begin to go off the road, and Wax stops it by crushing the front of it before it can go into the canal. Wax, which I don't know how safe that is, because I don't know if they have airbags in these cars yet.
Who cares about safety at this point, honestly?
Wax then gets chase again, distracting the man by throwing a coin at a window at one point. The man begins firing, but Wax breaks through a nearby window and aims his gun at the wall between them. Wax loads a haze killer round and fires it through the wall, seeing the metal on the other side drop to the floor. Wax bursts through the wall, but only sees a gun and a pool of blood. There's a bunch of people huddled under desks, and one of the women hiding in the room points towards the door, and Wax silently makes his way over to it. A filing cabinet rolls quickly down the hallway as Wax glances out of the room, and he quickly dodges it. He then tries to aim his gun down the hallway, but both his guns are pushed away from him. The man Marks asks Wax why he is going after him over other criminals, as he is a hero to the city. Wax just replies that Marks killed a little girl, even though he hadn't meant to. Wax then hurries off down the hallway, and Wax follows him into another room, and then out the window and into the streets below. So do you think that Wax is actually going after Marks because he killed a child, or do you think it's more to do with the fact that he's on his uncle's notebook?
Uncle.
Yeah, I think it's uncle for sure.
You think he probably would have just
kind of fixed on it?
Yeah, you think he maybe just would have left this to the constables if he had no connection to the set?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He seems very obsessed, which honestly is valid. But
yeah, I mean, Marassi notes that multiple times. I think that like Wax is a little too overly concerned about things being connected to his uncle. He's a little obsessed.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, his uncle is holding his sister captive.
Mm-hmm.
So, although he apparently didn't care much about his sister before.
That's no reason to be obsessed. I don't understand.
Apparently, before finding out she was alive, though, like when she had been alive previously, he wasn't that concerned about her, though. Because he like mentions that he like barely saw her after leaving to go out to the roughs. But it's not like they were that close.
I don't know what you're talking about. They're closest, thickest thieves.
As Wax chases Marks, not wanting him to get to the breakouts where the people would cover for him, he thinks he sees bloody tan on the sidewalk down below. It causes Wax to fall and almost break a leg as he searches for the man who caused him to kill Lessie, a man that Wax had killed years ago. Wax frantically asks people if they saw him, but everyone just gives him strange looks. Maraxi and Wayne then show up and ask if Wax lost Marks, but Wax replies that he's leaving a trail of blood and money, so they should be able to catch up to him. So what do you think about Wax thinking he saw bloody tan?
Going crazy.
Can you give me a reminder who that is?
He's the guy from the prologue of the first book who had all the like strung up
right.
corpses.
Yeah. I remember him.
Crazy.
The veil between Shadesmark and the physical world are beginning. No, I'm joking. Honestly, that'd be great because then we need like all them bitches back, but specifically Kelsey.
Obviously, got to get Miles back here.
I think Miles does come back.
So you think what about Miles?
I still don't think Miles is actually dead. I think he's coming back.
Kelsier brought him to the perpendicularity to get his powers and like be able to stay as a cognitive shadow to team up with Miles.
Something.
But yeah, Samantha, you kind of think that Wax is probably hallucinating.
Yeah.
Do you think Wax was hallucinating darkness, or do you think he actually saw someone who looked like Bloody Tan, or potentially actually saw Bloody Tan?
It's either of those two, but I don't think he's hallucinating.
Okay. Chapter 3. We switch to Wayne's point of view as he tells his hat that it needs to stay behind and be safe. Wayne then places his hat in the car before hurrying off to catch up to Wax and Marassi. They glance into the slums, and Marassi mentions how Spook had tried to give nice buildings to the poor so that slums wouldn't grow in the city. However, he hadn't been able to fully prevent it. So what do you think about Spook trying to prevent slums from forming?
Good luck.
I mean, it's valid. We know the living conditions that people had, you know.
Mm-hmm. Luke was like, I want everyone, no matter how poor they are, to have like a good place to live. It's not gonna be all like shady and shit. And
It
it,
didn't
it
work
happened.
out, but
Yep,
you
it
know, I
happened
wanted
anyways.
that.
So Wayne then searches for a man with a good hat. He finds an old guy who is coughing and copies what that man says, trying to learn his accent. The man just assumes that Wayne is an idiot as he continues to copy his words. Wayne eventually trades the man a bottle of whiskey for his hat. Wayne then asks the man to say another word with an H, which the guy's just like, huh?
Oh,
And then he ditches his jacket and dueling
no.
canes as he hurries off down the alleyway. Underneath his coat, Wayne had well-worn clothing with patches. He had seen Wax Marassi speaking to a woman up ahead, and he thinks that she's likely insisting that she didn't know anything about Marks. What did you think about how Wayne acquires accents?
I mean, how else would you get them? I guess
It's an
listening to
interesting way
people.
to do it, though.
The guy's just like,
Like,
are you an idiot? What the fuck's happening here? Like, it would definitely be really confusing if some guy just came up to you and started like copying exactly everything you said, trying to speak exactly like
No,
you.
I'd just be like, stop copying me. I'd just be like, stop copying me, and then he'd mimic that, and then I'd just be quiet, and he would be stuck.
And then you'd be like, hey, can you say another word with an H in it?
And I'd just be silent, staring at him like,
ho.
So Wayne then joins a couple men sitting on some steps, blending in with them by using the accent he gained from the sick man. The men that Wayne talks to say they don't like cops because they only come when they want someone, and that no one cares that the factories are blowing ash onto their homes. Wayne pretends that he's willing to talk to the cops for money, but the man states that Marks grew up here and that he doesn't believe Marks killed a little girl. He refuses to let Wayne get up from the steps. Wayne eats some apples with the men until the group breaks up. Waxman begins to follow the man that he'd been speaking to until he sees the man duck into a smaller alleyway. Wayne checks on him using a speed bubble but almost catches the man in it. Wayne grabs a tattered blanket from a dumpster and then drops his speed bubble, pretending to be a homeless drunk. He watches as the man goes into a building across the alley from him after waiting for about 5 minutes. Wayne goes up to the building and listens at the windows until he hears the man talking to Marks and trying to get some money out of him to keep the mouths shut of the people around here. So how do you think Wayne knew who to follow to get to Marks?
How did he know?
honestly, yeah. So honestly, I don't know. Just super smart, I guess.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is like he could kind of tell that the guy was kind of in charge of the little group, so maybe he just assumed following him would get him somewhere important because he was like really defending Marks. But like I'm also just like, how the fuck did you somehow find like the exact correct guy to like talk to and then follow to get to this guy? Like I don't know how much of it was luck versus intelligence. Probably some mixture of the two. So Wayne then bursts through the window and into the room beyond, putting up a speed bubble that grabs Marks, but luckily none of the other men in the room. Marks is shocked as he'd been bandaging his shoulder, but Wayne knocks him out with a punch. Wayne then throws Marks out of the window and jumps out after him, his speed bubble collapsing as he walks away with Marks' unconscious body. We then switch to Marassi's point of view as she takes a turn trying to talk to some of the people in the streets. She tries asking some young boys about Marks, but they just make crude jokes at her. She continues trying to get information out of the kids, but they joke about the man she was looking for being from a nursery rhyme. Marassi then takes some coins out of her purse and can see the boys look eager for a moment. The boys want more money, but Wax shows his allomancy and tells the boys to talk to Marassi instead of being greedy. So what do you think about Wax interrupting Marassi trying to get information out of the kids?
That was kind of annoying. I was looking forward to her like actually doing stuff, and that like honestly kind of pissed me off. Cause like mind your business, like I get it.
Right?
You're going through shit, but like this is her time to shine. Leave her alone.
It's like if you really thought he was gonna get nowhere, at least let her try. Like how's she
Nah,
gonna?
don't let her try. Fuck her.
Damn.
That too.
Oh my gosh. Marassi tells Wax that he wasn't helpful as the boys run off. Wax just replies they were going to lie to her, but Marassi had been expecting that. They both then disagree about the best interrogation techniques before Marassi accuses Wax of playing up his rough slawman persona. Wax replies that she had thought about this a lot, but Marassi thinks he seems to just be assuming that she is still infatuated with him, but she insists in her head that she's not. She wishes they could just have a professional relationship for once. So do you believe Marassi when she says she doesn't have a crush on Wax anymore?
No. What?
So did
My
you also?
question is that.
I mean, she's insisting that she just wants she doesn't have a thing for him anymore.
Yeah. Sure.
And sorry, I didn't hear
Totally.
your answer, Darkness. I only heard Mythic say no.
I said no at the same time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I couldn't tell if you'd agreed or not.
Cause there's no way. Like, what the fuck do you mean?
I mean, it's been a year. She could have gotten over him.
No.
No.
I mean, if he's constantly like
If
fucking
you
up
and,
shit
if you
like
and
that,
Jesus, if you and Jesus broke up, you telling me you wouldn't still have feelings for him
I
after
think
a year?
it's a little different considering
Come
we've been
on.
together for almost 10 years. Considering she only knew Wax for like a month or something.
What is time? What is time?
It,
Maybe not her.
Time is an illusion.
sure. So Marassi then notices Wayne nearby, eating an apple. He offers it to her, and at first she gets upset at him for not helping until Wayne gestures to Marks and says he caught the guy they were looking for. Wax then comes over and says they should bring Marks over to the constables. Marassi accuses Wax of knowing they wouldn't get anywhere with their questions, and Wax just states that Wayne needs space to do his work, and that in areas like this, Wayne is more effective than he is. So what do you think about Wax just assuming neither he nor Marassi would get any information of the people in the area?
It's probably true, so.
Yeah, but also, you can still try.
I still feel like, yeah, it's a little rude not to let, like, Marassi try. Like, how is she going to get any better at, like, doing this sort of stuff if he doesn't even let her, like, try anything?
That's right, because, like, the way we
Waste
found out he learned is definitely by trial and error, you know?
Well, you say it would waste time, Mythic, but, like, apparently Wax was just wasting time anyways until Wayne found the guy. So, like, why not let her try if you're wasting time anyways?
Don't waste too much time. Stop.
So Marassi then tries to get Wayne to tell her how he got to Mark so that she could try it, but Wayne says she's too pretty to do what he does. Suddenly, both Wax and Wayne go tense, and Marassi is confused until she is pushed out of the way of being shot at. Wayne tows her to safety, and Wax pushes himself up into the air. Wayne then complains as he sees a crossbow bolt sticking out of Marks' body on the ground. Wayne hurries off to help Wax, leaving Marassi behind. Marassi then kneels beside Marks' body, confirming that Marks was dead before getting out her notebook. As she starts to get ready to make some notes, she thinks it would be smart for an assassin to also check that their target was dead, just before she hears the click of a weapon behind her. A man with a crossbow rushes Marassi after shooting at Wayne, who is in a nearby alleyway. He holds Marassi as a hostage with a glass dagger as Wax drops down to the alleyway near them. So what do you think about Marassi realizing the killer would come back, although it was a little too late to avoid them?
Smart girl, honestly.
Yeah.
Marassi then thinks of what is best to do in a hostage situation and also scolds herself for not taking any cadmium, as it's best to have it in her system just in case. Instead of trying to talk down the man, she instead takes a pistol out of her purse and shoots the man under the chin to blow out his head. So what do you think about Marassi just killing this guy, holding her hostage? She's like, I could do all these different things. Fuck it, I'm blowing out his head. I loved it.
She's learning.
Effective.
I kind of love it. She's like, fuck this shit, I'm not playing damsel in distress.
I'm not doing this again. God.
She's like, this is too often this is happening.
Honestly, I would be tired of it too.
Right? She's like, fuck this shit. Bam.
Fuck this shit, you're out.
Also, what do you think about this person specifically having a glass dagger? Because we haven't seen a lot of glass daggers.
Not
We have it. We commented on that
made
too.
of metal.
It's not made of metal, but it's also not made of aluminum or anything. They seem to be favoring aluminum over the glass and obsidian stuff of the past.
Well, maybe they're a world hopper.
Why did I think you were gonna say maybe they're a warlock?
Maybe they're a warlock. I like that idea too.
What if world hoppers are warlocks? What if it's both?
What if Midnight's a warlock?
I am a
That's what I'm
warlock.
saying.
So we move to chapter 4, where we switch to Wax's point of view, as he thinks it'll be hard to identify the man with half his head blown off. But most of his uncle's men were hard to trace anyways. He hands Marassi a handkerchief and notes that she likely has damaged her hearing from shooting a gun so close to her own head. Wax gestures
What?
Wax gestures for Marassi to clean her face, and she does so as Wayne comes out of the alleyway holding a crossbow bolt. Wax notices some constables arriving as Marassi complains about how often she is taken as a hostage. Wax thinks that she does look indefensible, but that it works out well for her since it makes people underestimate her. Yeah, but as he says, it does make people underestimate her, which is honestly a good thing. You want to be underestimated.
Not if you don't want to be a damsel in distress.
Constable Reddy then comes over to Wax, who tells him to secure the area to see if anyone knows of the man that Marassi had just killed. Wax asks about the Constable General, Aradel, but Reddy replies that Aradel is busy with another investigation. As Wax thinks about what his uncle is up to, he thinks back to the book about hemalurgy and how it can make anyone into an allomancer. Wayne calls out about finding a tooth, and Wax can see Marassi going to sit down. He wants to comfort Marassi, but also doesn't want her to take that the wrong way. Reddy then tells Wax that there's an issue with the governor's brother. So what do you think about Wax worrying about leading Marassi on? He's like very concerned about this crush of hers.
We all know it's a crush. So.
I mean, to be fair, like if I was Marassi as well, even if like she hasn't gotten over the crush, I would also be annoyed if he's like constantly affecting like their working relationship by being like overly worried about like leading her on. I'd just be like, dude, can we just like fucking chase this criminal, please? Like, honestly, he's being so annoying lately that I would be surprised if her crush isn't gone already. It's gonna be gone soon, because I'd be pretty pissed off if I was her with how Wax is acting.
Maybe that's the goal.
I think she likes it.
Okay. I mean, we've been in her head, and it doesn't seem like she likes it, but sure.
She loves it.
We switch back to Marassi's point of view as she notices Wax and Wayne heading towards one of the constable's carriages. She gets up to follow them, annoyed that they don't come to get her, but is stopped by Reddy. Reddy mentions that Marassi's out of uniform, which she says is because it's her day off, and he asks her how she always ends up in situations like this when it isn't part of her job. Marassi just plays dumb, but Reddy tells her to go home and come back to work tomorrow. Marassi, however, insists that she should report to Aradel about Marks before going home and that he can dismiss her. So what do you think about Marassi going out on these chases with Wax and Wayne when she technically shouldn't be, considering her job?
What was the question again?
What do you think about the fact that Marassi keeps going out on like these like criminal chases with Wax and Wayne when like technically her job isn't to be specifically chasing criminals?
Honestly, you do what you need to do. You're not gonna like, like that one dude said, who she was talking to, who was like, "Oh," she was like, "Oh, so you see promise in me?" Like it's for a reason. Like you gotta step up and do that shit, or else.
Well, that's Aradel. That's the guy that she says she's gonna go report to instead of just going home.
Right.
She's like, yeah,
But, like,
you don't tell me when I go home. He does, so I'm gonna go report to him first. To be fair, he doesn't seem to be discouraging her from going out on these chases. So the carriage with Wax and Wayne had already left, so Marassi follows in the car that she'd been driving earlier. She eventually makes it to the mansion and is able to hear well again enough in her left ear. Wax comes up to her, asking if she knows what's going on, and Marassi just shakes her head. She had hidden her bloody dress under a long brown coat. Reddy mentions that this has to do with the governor's brother, but doesn't give any further information yet. As they walk to where Aradel is, Marassi notices Wayne switch a cigar case for a bruised apple, and thinks that she's going to have to get him to switch those back at some point. Once in the room, Marassi sees many well-dressed people dead on the floor. She also notes that Aradel is not of noble lineage, and had retired a decade ago before being brought out of retirement to take this role after Breton retired. Aradel mentions that every one of the dead bodies had a notable reputation with crime, or seems to be a bodyguard for them. Wayne seems excited about this, but Marassi says it could cause a lot of issues to have the power balance shift in the underworld. Aradel nods at this, and Marassi seems eager to prove herself to him, since he was the one who hired her instead of many experienced constables. So what do you think about the fact that the new constable general is specifically like not of like the higher society noble people? Do you think it's like a good or a bad thing?
It's very suspicious.
It's what?
Suspicious. Only because I still want that thing where constables are like, or at least someone higher up in charge is like not on the right side.
I mean, there's like 8 different Octants, obviously, so even if this guy's not a bad guy, like one of the like multiple other Octants could be.
Right.
Because he's not in charge of the whole police force. He's just in charge of his one Octant. What do you think, Mythic? Do you think it's a good or a bad thing that he's specifically not a noble?
I don't know. I'm indifferent.
Fair enough. Marassi then asks about Winsting and thinks that she also has a file on the governor, although it has no concrete evidence of criminal activity. Aradel mentions that Winsting is also dead in a safe room, which causes Wax to begin muttering to himself and glancing around the floor of the room. Wax then states that the people here seem to have killed each other and that it wasn't an outside force that burst in and killed them all. Aradel also confirms that not all of the people here were shot, some of them were killed with a knife in the back. As they head to the safe room, Wax asks Marassi what her statistics say about this sort of crime. Marassi asks if people were part of the same type of crime, but Aradel confirms they were into different types of crimes. This makes Marassi think it might have been Winsting, luring them all here to kill them. Wayne disagrees, though, as he thinks that Winsting is more of a political type criminal than, like, the kind to, like, just take out a bunch of other criminals. Aradel agrees with Wayne, stating that he had a lead about that Winsting had been trying to sell his Senate vote, and killing all these people willing to buy it would be stupid. So what do you think about how this killer caused so much chaos that the others in the room would kill each other?
I mean, sounds a lot like rioting to me.
It could also just be how they said, where they make it seem as if someone triggered something and then it wasn't really them, but they accused them anyway, and then
well, yeah, like that's how they did it. I was saying like more of like what do you think about that being their plan to like cause all this chaos so they'd kill each other?
I mean that's cool, that's smart. Like that's exactly what you need to do in these situations.
I mean, if you have that many people to kill who are all on edge and not trusting each other, it kind of works out if you can get them to kill off as many of each other as they can. So once they get down to the safe room, they see 4 bodyguards killed with bullets in the back of their heads, and the bullets seem to have come from the safe room. Wax assumes this means a Metalborn is involved, as they would have had to move too fast for the bodyguards to react. They then see Winsting's body, noting his neck was sliced and his tongue was cut out. Wax deduces that the killer had been let into the safe room and killed Winsting silently so as to not alert the bodyguards before shooting them. So what do you think about the fact that his tongue was cut out after he was killed?
They didn't want him talking.
It's calling him a liar.
It's definitely some sort of statement.
That's a good theory. Yeah, that's a good theory too, to be honest. I'll that theory too, Douglas.
So Wax states that someone who can use ferrochemical speed would be the most likely culprit, and that someone who worked for or with Winsting. It explained all the knife wounds and the quick shots before all the bodyguards could react. Wax also worries that whoever did this wanted the murderers to get out, including Winsting's association with all these criminals. Wax assumes that his uncle is involved. Waxon says he needs to leave, but he wants a report and for Aradel to get ready for whoever did this to continue their work. So do you also think the set is behind this, or do you think it was someone else? Because we know that apparently this like Karis woman was involved, but like, do you think the set like recruited her, or do you think it's like a completely separate thing?
It's the World Hoppers.
No, I think it's separate.
It's the Ghost Bloods.
I don't know if the Ghost Bloods would be formed right now.
Well, the Stormlight books
the
happened before
Ghost
these
Bloods.
books, so the Ghost Bloods are already a thing.
Oh, okay.
So the Ghost Bloods are a thing, and through your guys' observations, and I confirm for you guys because Mythic especially made some really good connections, that I did confirm that they seem to be a Scadrial group because their symbol is supposed to be kind of a geometric version of the Merewell flower.
Mm-hmm.
You guys had like different suspicions about like who was behind it. I think Mythic said thought it was Kelsier, and you thought it was Spook.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, no. One of the two of those.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the two of those, yeah. It's okay if it's either one, we could share credit.
Exactly.
I mean, who knows? Kelsier was working with Spook. It could be both of them.
No,
could
Kelsier
both
works
be right.
alone. What are you talking about?
He literally goes to Spook at the end of Mistborn Secret.
No, he works alone. I don't know what you're talking about.
He walks on Lonely Road.
He walks a lonely road.
So then we get to chapter 5, which is the start of part 2 of our book. They don't get titles though, like Stormlight does. And we switch to Wayne's point of view as he puts on his lucky hat, sniffling a bit as he was storing health since he expected to need it soon after seeing all those dead criminals. He thinks that he has to go light today on storing health though, as he needs luck today as it's his second worst day of his life, the worst being whatever day he ends up dying. Wayne wanders out of the room in Wax's mansion as he stayed there for free food and to keep Wax company. So do you agree that things are gonna probably turn violent like they did in Ally of Law, and that Wayne's probably smart for storing health?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think they're gonna somehow get out of it without a big fight?
They always need to go in
Nope.
thinking there's gonna be death around, honestly.
So as Wayne makes his way to Wax's study, he trades a lace doily for a broken watch. Inside the study, he sees Wax looking at a sketch of the room of corpses that they had found the other day, confirming that it was definitely a steel runner that had to kill those people. Wax states that 4 people upstairs died from the same gun, and then the same gun was also used on the bodyguards who were near the safe room. Wax isn't sure why the killer shot the first 4 people from different directions though, but Wayne thinks it's because of who was standing in that direction that those people were shot from, to frame it on them. Wax wants to send Wayne to do some work for him in looking into this, but Wayne replies that it's the first of the month, so he has something important to do that he seems to do the first of every month. Wax just nods and asks why Wayne hasn't left yet, and Wayne replies that he's got to do something awful, or if he's got to do something awful, he needs to grab some rum from Wax's room first. Wax then says he'll have to visit the village instead, which Wayne apologizes for since he knows that Wax hates going there. Wayne then heads out, taking Wax's bottle of rum with him. So at this point, what did you think the village may be? Have you had any thoughts about it? Because they made it sound very ominous.
I remember specifically thinking it was going to be something involving the person he killed or whatever with the gun and why he can't shoot and all that.
So you thought the village was going to be related to Wayne's thing, not like what Wayne was going to do?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
What did you think, Darkness? What did you think their village related to?
I had no idea.
You
I
just
thought
were
it was like
what
a
the
town
fuck?
or some shit. Like I thought it was like the name of a town or something.
And what did you think the important thing that Wayne was going to go do before you found out was? He got real serious, which is unlike him.
Yeah, it was weird. I don't know. I didn't think too much about it. I knew it was gonna be something important though.
I don't know. I don't even remember what I thought of.
Yeah, it's like the one time though we see Wayne get kind of like actually serious though. He's like, yeah, no, I've got to go do this. Wax is like, oh, okay. And apparently he does this the first of every single month, which seems stressful, as we'll get into what happens later. But first we switch to Merassi's point of view as she talks to a guy selling newspapers. The man complains about how many people have motor cars now as they've been made less expensive recently. Merassi just buys a broadsheet, scanning it as the man knows that she had come and bought the morning edition earlier today. Merassi needed the afternoon edition as well. The broadsheet has an article about the outrage of the general populace over the reveal of Winsting dealing with criminals. The edition this morning had only noted that Winsting had been found dead in his mansion. Marassi then notes many men out on the streets, unemployed because of the advancement of technology. She thinks that the governor had been making a lot of empty promises to the people, and his brother's death was going to upset those people. She thinks that Winston is somehow going to do more damage to the city while dead than he had been doing while alive. So what do you think about the fact that Winston associating with the criminals has gotten out already, like the next day?
Somebody's trying to put it out quickly so that they can smear his name a little bit.
We've got a little rat on our hands.
So we then switch to
We have a
Wax's.
darkness on our hands.
Wow.
We then switch to Wax's point of view as he climbs out of the carriage, wearing an aluminum-lined hat. He entered the village, which used to be a normal wide street, but over the years they had allowed it to grow a whole bunch of trees so that you couldn't use motor cars or carriages on the streets. Wax wore his guns, but the air smelled soft here, with children running around and adults wearing terrace robes. It reminded Wax of his mother. As Wax walks further into the village, 3 brutes, who were feruchemists that could increase their strength, met with him and asked him what his business was here. Wax replies that he needs to speak with the synod. Synod? The brutes ask if he's a constable, and Wax says he sort of is, and asks for a specific elder named Vwafendel. I think that's how you say it. Wafendel. Wafendel appears, stating that Wax has a right to be here, and he has Terra's blood and is her grandson. So what do you think about Wax going to visit his grandma, and the fact that she's a very important Terrace person?
I like her.
You like
Cool.
Wafendel? What did you think of Wafendel, Mythic?
Yeah, she was pretty cool.
So we then move back to Wayne's point of view as he gets off of a canal boat, tipping the driver with a coin that he had kept in his mouth. He then turns to see the Ellendale University, thinking it was time for his...
They can't push or pull it in his mouth.
Yep. I don't know if I'd want that coin, though. Just covered in his fucking slobber.
Beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah, so he turns to see Ellendale University, thinking that it was time for his 3 tests. Over the top of the university gates with High Imperial stating, "Wasing the always of wanting of knowledge."
Oh my.
Love it.
He then sees 2 men
High
in black.
Imperial.
Yeah, I just imagine like all these fancy fucking like phrases and
I
stuff in like
told
the
you.
university being in High Imperial.
I told you in Mistborn Era
know.
1, it was going to be some fancy ass language.
I mean, it wasn't
Didn't know
fancy back
exactly
then. It's only
how,
fancy
but
now.
It was always fancy.
It was not
always
always fancy. It was very specifically
Always
street
fancy.
slang.
No, it was always fancy.
Uh,
Nobody appreciated it.
oh my gosh. He then sees 2 men in black suits waiting outside the gates, and Wayne was surprised they waited for him outside of the gates this time. Wayne instead wanders around the wall surrounding the university grounds, trying to avoid the men waiting for him. He wanders over to a man named Dims, who is part of one of the street gangs, but tells
Dim
Dims...
sum.
I was thinking about that.
But tells Dims he
Yeah,
isn't working as a
every
cop
time they said it in the book, I thought the same thing. Dim sum.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, so he tells Dims he isn't working as a cop today. Dims then mentions he's chewing gum, which is apparently a new thing, which Wayne tries, but he swallows it the first time. Wayne then asks about Dims' gang group and their rival group, but Dims says that they were not causing that much trouble. Wayne had a soft spot for homeless kids like Dims, as Wayne used to be one of them. So what do you think about Wayne's soft spot for the kind of these like street kids?
I mean, you know,
That's
I'm
embarrassing.
surprised they don't. I'm surprised they don't speak High Imperial.
No, it's a fancy language now. The street kids don't say it anymore.
Yeah, I'm still
Street
surprised they
kid.
don't say it.
No, you don't want to be fancy if you're a street kid. It can get you beat up.
I'm kind of waiting for Wayne to start using High Imperial.
I mean, if he ever impersonates like a super high government official, I bet you he would.
Who's the
Yeah.
one that was bad at it?
Like
I
in
was
Mistborn Era
I've never
1?
been great at this. No, in this.
Oh, Wax. Wax says he's like really bad with High Imperial, I think.
Right.
Because he gets Marassi to translate some High Imperial stuff for him in the first book. He's like, he's like, I can't fucking understand this shit. So Wayne then gives Dims some money to get into the university without getting caught by the 2 men. A few minutes later, a man pretending to be Wayne heads to the front gates and then runs from the 2 men in suits. Wayne then walks through the gates in disguise, noticing a 3rd man watching from a more hidden position for Wayne, but not seeing him through the disguise. He then makes his way to the girls' dormitory for his 2nd test, to get past the woman at the front desk. She recognizes him and asks how he got past campus security, to which Wayne replies that he threw the hounds a ball. She gets upset, assuming Wayne is drunk, but he insists he is not, which I'm pretty sure he's at least tipsy, because apparently he's like slurring his words and shit. So
he's fine.
the woman says she isn't going to let Wayne in as he distresses the girl, and that he can leave the money for her at the front desk. However, Wayne bribes her with an invite to a fancy dinner that had been sent to Wax and Steris, and she reluctantly lets him into the visiting room to wait for Alri Andre, who's definitely named after Alrian.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking, damn.
After a few minutes, Alriandre arrives with 2 friends to keep her company, saying that she was told Wayne was drunk. Wayne instantly taps his healing to burn away the alcohol, thinking it was stupid that his body thought it was poison. So what do you think about Wayne bribing the woman so that he could go in to see Alriandre?
Right. Sorry, I was just trying to remember what exactly the scenario is here, but I got it. That whole situation is kind of fucked, and like he clearly regrets everything that's happening.
Yeah, it's a very fucked up situation, the whole thing.
I mean, technically he's the new daddy, but okay.
I don't think she would agree with that.
Well, she has no fucking choice. She's a woman.
Wow. Damn. So Alriandre accepts that Wayne isn't drunk, because Wayne has burned away the alcohol, and Wayne places the money on the table, saying that her mom had told him to bring it to her. Although she says you could have just sent it, you didn't have to come in person. However, he asks about her studies and how she's being treated, but she just shows him a locket with a picture of her father, and tells him to state what he did. Wayne reluctantly states that he mugged and killed her father. Sorry, Mythic's typing high imperial into the chat.
Oh my god.
Learning the speaking to mooring the words, hearing the beating, like burning of bronze, trying the try to be doing the learn.
No.
Come on.
No.
But yeah, so Wayne admits that he killed her father. He agrees with her that he will never be forgiven, and Alriandre eventually says that she'll accept his blood money. She tells him her studies are going well and that she is thinking of going into law. She then tells him to leave, and Wayne thinks that he wishes he could see some sort of emotion in her eyes, even if it was hatred. So yeah, what did you think about Wayne insisting on bringing money to the daughter of the man he killed in person instead of just, like, mailing it to her?
Oh my god.
Sorry. The loud one.
I mean, I don't know why he's doing that. Like, I get like feeling a responsibility, but it's also torturing yourself. And I feel like she doesn't necessarily appreciate it, considering like he's the reason it happened in the first place. But
Yeah, like, it definitely seems like he's like, I, like, need to make sure she gets it, and, like, I deserve, like, any resentment she has, but also, like, I don't know if it's helping her in any way to, like, keep seeing the guy who killed her dad.
Helping. Yeah, I really don't think it's helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, what do you
I think it's
though?
helpful for him.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, like, I think he feels like being berated by her is basically, like, his like, punishment, yeah, for killing her dad. He's like, I deserve to not be happy and to be reminded of the horrible thing I did.
which is completely valid, he should.
Yeah, you should definitely remember what he did.
But also, what do you
So
think
I know
about
what he did,
what do you think about the
'cause
fact
I
that
really
she,
want
like,
to know.
insists on, like, showing him a picture of her dad, and, like, it seems like this is probably something that happens every single month, and it's been happening for, like, a decade or more. That she's like, you need to admit what you did to my dad, look at this picture of him, and realize you'll never be forgiven. Like, so, like, Jesus Christ, girl.
Okay, but that's valid.
It's valid, but it's also, like, weird. Like, I'd be more like, just like, don't come see me. Like, why are you here?
Sometimes you just
doesn't
have
she say that though? I thought she said that once.
She does say, like,
She said to stop crying, and she still does it.
Yeah, and then she does this whole, like, you must look at my father and admit to your crimes.
I mean, I feel like that's just I feel like that's just to get him out of there.
Maybe,
You're
yeah.
like, all right, let's just go through this. So you'll leave, and then I can go on with my life for the next month.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a weird situation.
Weird.
It's quite interesting.
But yeah, it's interesting how the wife of the guy he killed, she apparently won't take the money. She's like, send it to my daughter so she can, like, go to university. Which is, like, fair. She's like, I want my
Which is
daughter
awesome,
to, like, get an education, at least. Like, if at least she can benefit from this a
good
bit.
comes out of it. Yeah.
So we switch
here's
back.
some blood money,
Blood money.
So we switch back to Wax's point of view as he goes to a log hut with a fire in the center used for boiling tea. The whole place was based on stories of old Terrace from the Terrace people that had survived the Catasandra. Wax sits down and his grandmother sits down across from him, making herself a cup of tea. She asks if Wax removed his weapons, but he hadn't, which makes her unhappy. She also calls him by a Terrace name, Athinthru. Athinthru. I don't know how to pronounce that. Some of these Terrace names are rough.
I said we can tell.
She claims Wax's father did not have the right to name him. His grandmother also does not like that Wax is both allomancy and feruchemy, as she considers it a mark of a tyrant. So what did you think about Wax's grandmother trying to replicate, like, one of these ancient terrace homes?
Okay, stick to your roots.
Grandma's a little crazy. I like it.
Also, what did you think about Wax's grandmother insisting on calling him by a terrorist name and not accepting the name that his father gave him?
You know,
He didn't have the right, you know.
to be fair, like it would sort of give him away with the work he does if he actually went by his like original or whatever.
Well, you say
What
original, but it
he
sounds
wanted
like
to do.
Waxilium is his original. Like, it sounds like that was the name like both his parents gave him when he was born. But the grandma's like really against like people with Allomancy and Feruchemy like having children together, and so she's
She's
like,
a racist grandma.
She's like, I don't accept your father and his right to name you.
So
Father
yeah,
was the
so
element.
essentially she's
Got it.
just a racist grandma.
She's a little racist. But to be fair, like her hatred
Is it
of
a
like this
race?
it's
Wait,
not
are
really.
Alamancers a race?
Well, so Allomancers are probably, yeah, I think they are, because I think the Allomancers are specifically all descendants of these like specific people that
Lord Ruler?
well, the Lord Ruler was terrorist member, so he went to like these
Yeah,
people that had
it was a
oppressed
joke.
his people and basically bribed them into allowing him to become the Lord Ruler by giving them these powers. And I think because like they mention how like in the past, like we get a little bit of information from Sazed and from what's his name, Alendi's journal, about how like there used to be like tons of kingdoms and stuff like before like the Lord Ruler took over, and I think they all the people he bribed were like from like Alendi's country or from like similar areas. Like they're probably like, if you consider like in world stuff, it'd be like maybe like the terrorist people are Middle Eastern and he got like a bunch of European people as like to become the Allomancers. So like they're all similar-ish descent, maybe not the exact same kingdom, but neighboring kingdoms. And then all they became like his main people. He killed basically everyone else, changed the whole world, and just allowed those people to like procreate into the noble lines. And the Ska were just like people from those countries that were not family of the people he gave Allomancy to.
Ugh, Scott, disgusting.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think it is like they are like all of the nobles and Ska descendants are like close in race to each other, whereas the Terrace people were like their own race of people. There's potentially tons of other races of people that just got all killed off because the Lord Ruler said fuck them.
That's valid. I mean, no, it's not.
He said,
It
I
is
don't
valid,
care
though,
about
as
people
well.
that far away. I'm just gonna like have my own little thing here.
For legal purposes, I did not say that is valid.
For legal purposes? Oh, okay.
No, moral purposes is fine. Yeah.
So Waxen asked for the name of some steel runners, as one killed people recently, but his grandmother just states that Wax has barely visited since returning to the city. Wax replies it's because they don't really get along well. Wax had only spent a year in the village, as that was all his father would
Didn't
allow
he say,
him.
do you blame me? Isn't that what the words
Yeah,
were?
he's like,
Do
yeah,
you blame me?
yeah, because he's like, do you blame me? Because he's like, this conversation is exactly why. Like, I don't normally come visit you. And she's like, oh, I'm different. It's just you that's not. And I'm like, I don't know about that, lady. He's like, you always berate me about like not going by a terrorist name and being a lawkeeper and using guns. This is why I don't visit you, Grandma.
I'm tired, Grandpa. Well, this too damn bad.
But yeah, so apparently Wax had lived for a year in the village, as that was all his father would allow, and Wax had not been allowed to use his allomancy while living here. Wax also insists that he knows himself best when he hunts down criminals, but his grandmother asks if he can really be certain that he's never killed an innocent person. Wax just says that if he has, it'll come for him eventually. Waxen states that Harmony also killed people, but his grandmother insists that Sayes only killed beasts and monsters.
Yeah, totally didn't kill his own wife, you know? Well, not wife.
No,
but,
his like love interest died in a completely separate part of the city while he was like holding back Kolos.
He totally didn't kill her or
Okay.
anything with.
So Waxen stands, asking his
I don't know
grandmother.
I don't know what you're saying, Midnight. We're saying the same thing.
Sure, we are. Waxen stands, asking his grandmother if she could deal with other people dying if she doesn't give up the name of the Steel Runner. His grandma eventually states that it could be a woman named Adashwi, who began acting erratically lately, and then disappeared over a month ago. His grandmother also mentions that Wax had known this girl in the past, and Wax does briefly remember her. I think he also does give a partially similar description to that woman in the first chapter. He mentions that she had blonde hair. Before he leaves, his grandmother asks him to bring her back because to bring Aidashwi back because she is confused, as she had been said to be seeing her dead brother. So were you surprised that Wax's grandmother gave Wax the name of this likely suspect, even though she's like really against him hunting down criminals?
In all honesty, no, because I kind of stuck more to the fact that she said he's seeing his dead brother or her dead brother or whatever, and I was like, wait, I wonder, does it have something to do with the other visions some other people are seeing?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So my next question was going to be, do you think Aidashwi is crazy, or is she working with someone?
She's working with her dead brother.
Yeah, that's valid. Yeah.
Oh.
What if she is? What if, like, what I said about,
the veil is splitting? Yeah. The gates are shattering? Yeah.
The doors of death have opened once again.
So we switch back to Marassi's point of view, as she feels excited to be in the constable's office. She'd always wanted to be a constable, but her mother had insisted that with the promise of her father giving her money for education, she needed to choose a better life for herself. She drops her stuff off at her desk, where a pile of reports from the prior year sat on top of some polite but angry letters from her mother. She glances into Aridel's office to see his coat there, so she goes looking for him. Marassi briefly thinks back to her time as a solicitor and how she felt like they never did much, as the truly important crimes weren't high profile enough for people to be eager to take them. She eventually finds Aridel speaking to a lieutenant who he was micromanaging a bit, causing the woman to roll her eyes to Marassi. Aridel meant well, though. After Aridel is done talking to the lieutenant, Marassi...
Sure she did.
Marassi hands him the afternoon broadsheet, which he quickly glances over. He states that it would be better if the papers had gone after the constables instead of Winston and the governor. What did you think about Marassi wanting to make a difference and preferring to be a cop instead of a solicitor?
Man, good on you. Follow your dreams.
Following her man.
That too, but follow your dreams.
Marassi goes back and forth with Aridel a bit about whether the governor should be called out or not, as Aridel states that keeping the peace is their purpose, but Marassi states that they are here to protect the people, not the people in power, which Aridel does not refute. They pass Reddy briefly, and Aridel reveals to Marassi that she had technically stolen Reddy's job, as Aridel had been pushed into accepting Reddy until he saw Marassi's application. Aridel, however, thinks it's better for good constables to be out on the streets instead of in the office, even if constables often thought that the higher up you were, the less time you spent out on the streets. So what do you think about the fact that all these constables are kind of pissed at Marassi because she basically stole this one guy's promotion?
Meh, they'll get over it. Or they'll kill her, or they'll try to kill her, and then,
What did you say, Darkness?
I said they will, they'll get over it. Especially after she solves, like, what they definitely could not.
Gonna prove her worth to them and they'll respect her.
Yeah, okay.
And then she's gonna be in charge.
Because women totally get respected in the workplace.
Especially in this time period.
What do you think?
Okay, but to be fair,
what do you think this is? What's that other? What did we just read?
Stormlight Archive.
Stormlight. Yeah. What do we think? This is Stormlight. Come on.
To be fair, they do have
women aren't respected.
Like, a woman hero or whatever.
Yeah, but I think Marassi says specifically in the first book that like Vin's considered like an exception, and like no one really expects like all women to be like Vin. And she's like, people talk about how great Win was.
Any woman ever again.
Yeah.
Vin.
But yeah, I was gonna say though, like at least in Stormlight though, I think technically Marassi would still be kind of looked down on for wanting to go out and like fight criminals, because like women's work is like because men are the ones who go out and fight and do like physical shit. Women are the ones who like do art and writing and like stuff like that. So
Vin did not die for this.
Right? Vin didn't die for this bullshit.
No, she really died for her man.
Yeah.
Vin died to take down Ruin.
No, she died for her man. 100%. She did not die for Ruin. That was just a happy circumstance.
Wow. So Aridel states
100% was like, I can't live without him.
Yeah, I guess because she was given the chance to like stay as either a cognitive shadow or come back to life because her soul was still there. So technically, yeah, you're right. She did die for Elend. Elend also died for Vin, though. They both kind of mutually agreed, like, yeah, we're just gonna die. We don't want to stay alive, thanks.
We don't want to live anymore.
They're like, no, we're good.
We no longer want to live.
We're good.
This world sucks.
At the age of like somewhere in their 20s, they're like, I've lived a good life. I'm done. I'm okay.
Well,
this is enough for me.
Cruel world.
But yeah, so Aridel states that Marassi's writings about helping the city had been what convinced him to hire her, and that it wasn't flattery, but just facts. He also notes that the governor is going to be giving a speech, and they are likely to be asked for help in keeping an eye on the crowds. So he wants Marassi to go out there with the constables to get a report for him. He wants her specifically to keep an eye on how the crowd reacts to the governor's speech. Marassi agrees and then hurries off. So then we go to our overview questions. Which, first of all, is what do you think is going to happen at the governor's speech if anything does happen?
Riots.
They're all going to riot.
Yep.
An assassination, obviously.
The ability, not the yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're
gonna be
going
rioting.
to be rioting.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
What did you say, Darkness?
I said an assassination.
I think there's gonna be an attempt for sure. Yeah.
It's gonna be like snipers everywhere.
What do you think about the fact that hemalurgy is being reintroduced to the series?
It's great. I've been waiting for this.
Awesome. I'm waiting for the one dude to show back up.
I need my
Marsh?
Radium to be delivered.
Yeah, Marsh. That's it.
Also, why do you think Marsh thought it was important for Wax to know about hemalurgy? Because, like, Marsh was like, you need this book. So, like, he's like, for some reason thinks hemalurgy is going to be important for you to know about. Why do you think that?
Somebody's using it, and he needs to be the one to find it.
So you think there's, like, people are, like, using hemalurgy and he needs Wax to, like, be prepared for that?
Yeah.
Do you agree,
Or
Darkness?
he's selling wax to spike themselves.
Or he's saying you need to be stronger. You should just fucking spike yourself, dude.
Yeah.
What if it's
Spike
that
yourself like me.
situation where you know how you had to be spiked or whatever to talk to Ruin?
To hear.
Yeah. So yeah, the more spikes you had, the more like under Ruin's control you
Technically-
were.
Wait, technically, isn't he spiked? I thought.
So the thing is, you can be spiked with metal, I think, without it actually giving you powers, which is how like Wax's earring, I don't think actually gives him any powers. Yeah, so Wax technically has a spike. I just don't think it gives him any additional powers.
Yeah, that's why Wax can talk to.
Yeah, that's why he can like.
say-
That's what he does when he prays to Harmony.
Also, I don't know if it's going to be in your overview questions, but probably not because nothing really talked about it in this one. I have a theory on the metal situation.
Okay.
I think it's going to be what's the guy who does the voices? Wayne, right? Wayne.
Yeah, Wayne's the one who has all the accents.
I think it's going to be Wayne is going to like turn into a metal, like through death or something. You know.
Wait, did you just say Wayne is turning into a metal?
I think it takes like if you have you ever seen Full Metal Alchemist or know what I'm talking about when I
Yes.
say that? Okay. It's kind of like like making a philosopher's stone. You need a human sacrifice,
Interesting.
and it makes a special metal. Either that, or it's like Darkness said back the last time. It's going to be like a combination of god metals or something.
Yeah, I want that really bad.
Yeah, I kind of want it. What would you call it? Midnight. What was the name that you said? Harmonium or something?
Oh, harmonium.
Yeah, harmonium. That's it. Harmonium.
Yeah, because I think we were talking about
Or was it Saziism?
I was joking. I was joking that it was Sazium, and then I think we also said harmonium. As like, because I was like, because technically Atium and Lerasium aren't based on like preservation and ruin; they're based on the vessel names. So it would make more sense for it to be Sazium if they do have if they've somehow merged into an alloy of the two god metals.
Yeah.
Because I think we were talking about whether there was going to be Lerasium or Atium in this world. Considering preservation and ruin technically don't exist anymore, they've become a combined shard.
Your face doesn't exist.
It's true. I'm a faceless immortal. I'm a Khandra.
Yes, you are.
You're a con.
Also, we're definitely going to find Conjurers again. It's happening.
Do you think it's definitely happening this book, or do you think it's kind of more hinting towards it happening like next book or the fourth book?
No, so I've already looked at. Yeah, I want to say I've already looked at all of the names of the books, and still, it's the only reason I got this idea.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, that's valid. You're allowed to look at the names of the future books.
with the whole fourth book being called The Lost Metal or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I technically even have them for you guys in our like list of like books we've read and are going to read.
I was getting all of the books or whatever because I have credits that I need to spend on Audible. So I was getting them all, and then I saw the fourth one was called The Lost Metal, and it made me think about maybe what if Wayne is the lost metal.
You think he's going to survive to the fourth book then?
I think all of them survive until all these people that are like
all our main good guys
named. Yep, and I think what's his nuts is coming back, but yeah.
Miles.
Mr. Thousand Lives, yeah.
Yeah, Miles 100 Lives.
Yep. 1,000 Lives, yep.
Sure. But yeah, so my final question was going to be, what do you think this book, where do you think this book is going plot-wise? Like, plot-wise? Like, what is going to be covered specifically in this book, not like the whole era?
What's the name of this book again?
It's called Shadows of Self.
Oh, well, then it'll be about the shadows of themselves.
Wow. Love that.
Because yeah, like we're getting some foreshadowing here about like hemalurgy. We've like gotten like a little bit of stuff. You guys are thinking about conjure stuff. Like, do you think any of that stuff's gonna happen like specifically in this book? Is it gonna happen, or is that for like later stuff in this era?
About the
I feel like it
conjure
has
being in
more.
this book, but
I feel like it has more to do with like, I guess gold. Like you know how it has that power to
Oh, you
like.
think maybe like the shadows of self means like when you look at yourself through burning
uh huh.
gold? That's a
Yeah,
good
like
thought.
that or like a similar situation. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't it the
because
last book they made a comment about like not knowing what it actually does or something?
Yeah, I
yeah,
think they say that they,
Uh,
or I think Miles specifically says that he doesn't know if the person he sees when he burns gold is what he would have been or if it's specifically his past self. But I believe the stuff that Darkness showed specifically tells you that it's your past self. Yeah. So gold, it does say.
Didn't Vin see multiple though when
So I
she
think you
burned gold?
no, so you see two. You see two versions of yourself, and then there's the you that's actually there. And so I think Miles sees like you see like a version of yeah. What does Vin sees Vin sees two versions. She sees like the version of herself as like scared Ska urchin, and then she sees herself as like the noble woman.
Hmm.
And so I think it says see your own past though specifically. So I think it's like
Doesn't
options for
seem
who
like
you.
past.
Yeah, how does that? That is a good question. How is her
Yeah.
seeing?
Hmm.
I'm wondering if it's more about, although it is like who you were, it's also like the past, like the
Who you could
versions
be.
of you
Hmm.
that could have been. Yeah, the wording of that is very
Yeah.
strange because yeah, the way that she sees it, you're right, does kind of contradict that a little bit. Let me see if the copper mine gives any better specifics on it.
Oh, wonderful! I want to look up the copper mine.
You cannot. I honestly like.
Oh,
I can't even look at the copper mine very much, except for like the good thing about it being a Mistborn is I can kind of look at the copper mine because I can't look at the copper mine for Stormlight stuff right now because I'm not done the current book.
read the book.
So
Yeah, read the book.
I have to be very very careful about going into the copper mine to not spoil myself.
Why don't you just finish the
Okay,
book?
so yeah,
Oh,
so it does
shit.
specify that an Alamancer burning gold is able to see who they could have been in the past had they made different choices. So it is based on your past, but it's still what you would have been currently had your past changed. So I believe the reason that Vin sees herself as like a noble woman is because it's like if she hadn't ended up on the streets, if she'd like been more like stayed with like if her dad had accepted her or something.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
Because her dad
So
was
what you're
like,
saying is just daddy issues. Understandable.
it's always daddy issues in these books.
In life, always daddy issues in life. Females
who
have
would
daddy
ever?
issues and males have mother issues.
I don't know, we've had multiple male characters that also have daddy issues.
Nah.
Like, Rowden fucking
Name
has
10. Name 10.
10! That's a lot of characters. Susebron, Rowden from Elantris, Kaladin, Adel and Renarin both kind of have daddy issues of the whole, like, will he accept us if we're not good enough, like, especially Renarin, like, will he accept me if I'm not a good enough soldier, and all this stuff. And then, who else would have daddy issues that's a guy? I'm trying to think of main characters. Lightsong doesn't because he doesn't know his family, really. Main male characters. Harathan doesn't talk about his family. Sadius doesn't talk about his family. Dalinar doesn't talk about his parents.
Does he even have
I mean,
parents?
they don't have mommy issues, at least. I feel like most of our characters, male or female, have daddy issues or just don't talk about their parents. Except for Vin. Vin mostly has mom issues, honestly, with her whole mom murdering her sister and
Yeah.
giving her powers.
That
Can you
was all
imagine?
Ruin's fault, though. That's really a daddy issue.
What did you say, Darkness?
Can you imagine if her sister lived?
Oh my gosh. Her sister comes back as like a villain at some point in Mistborn Era 1. That'd be crazy. But yeah, so next week we'll be reading chapters 6 through 9. 4 chapters.
69! Yay!
Gosh. So those are going to be our chapters for next week. Thank you guys all so much for listening, and specifically thank you to our Patreons, Hubris, Kaladin Dies in Book 3, and Kyle. We appreciate you very much, and have a good day. Bye!
Bye.
I